Are you the type of person that prefers to follow a recipe when you're cooking, or do you like to just cook on the fly? I'll admit I'm a bit of both, but today I want to take you along. I've got some cooking plans for the day. I'm excited about what I plan to make in the kitchen, and I want to do it a little more creatively than I usually do. I want to tap into my intuition and to take what I already know about food, how to blend flavors, and just trust myself in the process. A little bit of an intuitive way to cook. So I'm tidying up my kitchen because it's always more fun to cook in a clean kitchen. And I'm just adding some special touches around it, getting ready to film this video for you and to spend some time in my kitchen cooking, and in a way that's a little more creative and on the fly without using any recipe. So if this gets you excited, come along with me. If you're new here, my name is Cami. I'm the creator of the blog and YouTube channel Tidbits and Company, and I'm so glad to have you join me today. I am super excited to be digging into my new blue caraway set. It's gonna fit my blue kitchen so good. So excited. I love caraway, their products, what they're doing. So let me tell you a bit about them. I'm so thankful that they'd be willing to sponsor this video today. I have a lot of cooking on my docket today, so I'm excited to feature these throughout the video. This set is so beautiful. I'm so excited to have a blue set that matches my oven, the cabinets. It's gonna look so good. But if you guys have been with me, you already know that I really feel it's important to get toxic chemicals out of our home. This has been a long time journey for me. I prefer to diffuse essential oils instead of candles. We are very careful about our laundry detergent, just everything. And your cookware is one more step that you can take to get forever chemicals like Teflon out of your home. Caraway is actually lined with a ceramic lining, so it will not leach into your food. They're beautiful, but it's just really, really important that as we're making fresh foods, we're also taking care of what we're cooking them on, so we're not leaching any of these really toxic forever chemicals that can have a lot of negative impacts to our health. They've actually shown that 97% of Americans have PFAS in their blood. This is a toxic chemical often found in traditional non-stick cookware like Teflon. It's been linked to all kinds of serious health issues, from immune system problems to reproductive issues and even cancer. When you think about how often we use our pots and pans, it really makes you want to choose a cookware that's actually safe. If you happen to be new to Caraway, they are a kitchenware brand that makes a lot of really high quality kitchen essentials. I love telling the story about their founder. He actually was cooking with a Teflon brand of kitchenware, and he got Teflon flu. He later did some research and found out that it only takes about 2.5 minutes of heating a pan up to 500 degrees for it to release these forever chemicals, PTFE, into the air, into your food, and that's how he got sick. And so I love that that has a story behind these products, that it's someone that's had personal experience with the dangers that can exist in other cookware. And I just know that when a company has passion and experience, they're really diligent about making us really great products that are also safe for our kitchens. I would highly recommend getting this cookware set that I have here. It comes with a saute pan, a fry pan, a Dutch oven, and a saucepan. Plus you get lids for all of them. I love that they have this lid holder that I can put on the inside of my cabinet. It works perfect. Nothing frustrates me more than having lids that are stacked and falling everywhere, so I love having a really organized place to put them. Plus these little magnetic blocks that come together that you can stack your pans vertically, so nothing's being stacked on top of it. It's the little things, friends. I love an organized kitchen. When you buy this cookware set that I will link down in the description for you, you can save 20% off versus buying these products individually. You can also stack my coupon code Tidbits10 to save an additional 10% off. So definitely check the description. I'll also leave a QR code here for you to scan if that's easier for you. But it's a really great time to stack these dills and get an amazing deal on these incredibly beautiful products. Okay, let's get cooking and trying out my new set of blue caraway pots and pans. I love that they have the non-stick ceramic coating. It makes cooking with them so easy. You only have to use a tiny bit of oil or a little butter, and it's just totally non-stick. They clean up super easy, which I'll show for you today. But let's get cooking, and I'm excited to share with you how joyful it can be in the kitchen when you're just going off of your intuition, not following a recipe, and just getting creative as you cook. And finally, huge thanks to Caraway for sending me this set and being the sponsor of today's video. Something that really inspires me to have fun in the kitchen is when I have a lot of herbs to play with. I love adding flavor to foods through herbs, and we still have a lot of fresh herbs growing in the garden. It hasn't gotten cold enough yet that they're done for the season, so they're actually full and in abundance. So I'm gonna make the most of it, clip some of these herbs, take them into my kitchen. I love to just wash them and put them in a jar with some water and place them along the windowsill. That way they're there, easily accessible for me to just pull from throughout the days or the weeks and get creative with in my cooking by adding some flavor through herbs. I also thought it would be a good idea to keep some garlic and onions in these hanging baskets on our open shelves in the kitchen. So many of the fall foods that I make, like soups and things, use garlic and onions. So I just want to have them on hand, easily accessible. And of course, this is a really cute way to display them. A couple of things I want to make today include some flour. I really love to freshly mill my flour. I keep on hand all sorts of wheat berries, hard red, hard white, soft white, einkorn, spelt, kamut, you name it. I have like buckets and buckets full of these grains that I love to play around with. And when you freshly mill them, it just makes the absolutely most delicious and nutritious baked goods that are available in this world. So I do this often, probably daily. I get out some grains and get them milled for the things that I want to bake. Today, I wanted to play around with making some muffins. And so I'm milling some soft white wheat, which is a great grain for more of a fluffy, soft texture. So any kind of baked good that uses like baking soda, soft white wheat works great for that. I'm also going to mill some hard white wheat because I plan to make some breadsticks with our dinner, and I have found that hard white makes some really delicious breadsticks. And I know we're trying to bake without recipes today, but I do have a recipe for these muffins that I'm making and breadsticks on my blog. I will link them for you down in the description. But today I want to get creative with how I'm using these recipes that I make all the time. And my kids have actually been asking for hot chocolate. So it's getting chilly and they always crave that. I like to make hot chocolate with Creo brew. It's basically ground cacao beans. Super pure, delicious. I have recipes for that as well if you don't know how to make it, but I've made this so many times, I don't need to pull out a recipe. I like to use my Instant Pot because I find that the flavor of the cacao infuses very well in an Instant Pot where it can get a lot of pressure. So I like to add my water and the Creo brew and dump it in the Instant Pot and cook it for 20 minutes. I'll even let it sit for a long time throughout the day to get more flavor. So this muffin recipe is one I have made so many times. It is ingrained in my memory. I don't even need to pull out a recipe. Of course, if you want it, I will link it for you, but we make it all the time. And my kids are a little bored of it. So I thought I would get creative and add some chocolate to half of the batter. So we have kind of these layered pumpkin chocolate muffins. So I'm going to play around with that and see how it turns out. But I'm just coming up with this on the fly and trying to invent it. I've made them so many times. I really have gotten to a point where I don't measure out the things exactly. I have a pretty good idea on the consistency of the batter. So as I'm adding the ingredients, the butter, the pumpkin spice, the eggs, like I just know what consistency I'm going to need it at. So I'll add the soft white wheat accordingly, just little bits at a time until it looks like that muffin batter. So I'm not measuring anything exactly, just playing around. And this is what I wanted to encourage you to do. Try when you cook to trust your instincts, especially when you have a recipe like this that you make frequently. Sometimes half of the burden of cooking is pulling out the recipe, finding where it's at, following it meticulously. When you can just trust yourself and recognize that you know how this should be a little bit, you've made it many times, then you can just let those particulars go. Have fun, get to know ingredients, get to know how they react together, and see what comes out. Maybe not every time you're going to have a perfect result, but it will teach you a lot about cooking as you allow yourself some freedom to just play around and be more intuitive when you're cooking. So when this Creole brew was done in the Instant Pot, I went ahead and strained the cacao beans and have this beautiful chocolatey drink. I just love it when it gets chilly. And it's so full of antioxidants. It's just really, really great for you. And you can kind of govern what kind of sweetener you put in there and how much. So I had some extra pumpkin left over from making the muffins. So I added a scoop of that in my drink, a splash of raw milk, some pumpkin pie spice, whipped it up, added some syrup to sweeten it a little bit, and it was so delicious. My kids were thrilled to have this once they were all done with their school and could just sit back, relax, and enjoy some of our pumpkin chocolate muffins and hot chocolate. For the breadsticks I want to make, you're just seeing me getting the dough started, and I'm going to let that rise until it's ready. But I have a fun idea for how to make these breadsticks a little more creative. We'll see how it goes. I decided it would be fun to make spaghetti tonight, as I'm showing you ways that you can be more intuitive with your cooking. So I'm making a marinara sauce from scratch. And it's really not that complicated, but it gets overwhelming when you try to find recipes and try to follow them. So I'm just doing this instinctively. I've made marinara sauces before. I've made like tomato basil soups before. It's really the same kind of concept. So I'm just going with my gut here and hoping this works out. but I'm basically getting some of the tomatoes that we have left over from the garden and chopping them up in little bits, pureeing them. At this point, you could strain them, but I'm not going to do that. I want to see what it turns out like when I don't strain them or don't peel them, because I think it'll work out. And of course, in a marinara sauce, it's so good to add a lot of herbs and flavoring. So I'm pulling out some of those fresh herbs that I picked from the garden, getting them chopped really tiny, and we'll throw those into the marinara sauce towards the end of the simmering. But even without following any recipe, I know that something like this should start with some sauteed onions and garlic. So I put some olive oil into the pot, sauteed these onions and garlic, and then added them to the tomatoes to puree. My kids don't like chunky marinara sauce, so I want to make sure it's a really smooth consistency so that they don't detect anything green or oniony. They'll just get to enjoy the flavor without that texture. Kids are just picky like that, but that's okay. I was too. Now, when I pureed these tomatoes, the liquid was quite light colored, and so I just instinctively felt like it wouldn't be strong enough in the tomato flavor. So I went and grabbed some tomato sauce out of our storage room and added a can of that. That really brightened the color and I bet added a ton of flavor. So I added that to the tomatoes, added a bunch of spices, salt, pepper, some extra garlic, salt, and onion powder, just things that I knew would add a lot of flavor to this marinara base. And of course, because I've helped my mother can marinara sauce and salsa so many times, I just knew that these tomatoes would need to cook down and a lot of the moisture would need to evaporate so that we have a thicker marinara sauce. So I planned on just letting this simmer on the stovetop for quite some time. It probably simmered for about an hour while I was doing other things, and it reduced down really well. And after I added all those fresh herbs, let it cook down some more, I actually put it in the blender again and blended it at high speed, and it came out the perfect consistency to top some spaghetti. So I was excited about that. My intuition seemed to work, and I just trusted myself, knew that I've made this many times and I could just pull into my memory the things that I've done over and over and didn't need to feel like I needed to follow a recipe exactly. And it was a lot of fun. I also got some hamburger going and the whole wheat pasta noodles simmering in water. So all of this was happening at once. I love this oven that we have. I'm going to do a big review on this Ilve oven later for you guys, but you'll see here how it functions so well with multiple things going on. But for the meat, again, I was just instinctive about it. I knew I was making an Italian dish, so I pulled out some dried basil, some dried oregano, added some parsley, garlic salt, pepper, salt, and just threw them all in there and had fun flavoring this meat with how I felt like it should be flavored. Okay, on to the breadsticks. The dough had risen, and I thought it would be fun to braid these breadsticks. In my blog post, you'll see I just made them into strips, and that's a really simple way to do them. But I wanted to experiment and make them a little more creative. And I gotta tell you, when these came out of the oven, everyone was just oohing and awing over them. They just thought they were so pretty and so fun. So I just cut them in 3 strips and braided them. Played around with different sizes and thicknesses. I was just having fun. I wasn't after some uniform, perfect look, but just experimenting with the dough and seeing what kind of thickness and length worked best. And really, this is how you learn how to cook. You play around, give yourself some freedom, and just have fun in the kitchen. To go with our meal, I cut up some green beans, threw them in the Instant Pot for 2 minutes, and they come out perfect every time. And to flavor them, I just used the remaining butter that I pasted onto the breadsticks. It already had herbs in it and garlic salt, and I threw that right into the green beans. I love sprinkling some sliced almonds in with our vegetables. It adds a yummy crunch, some beautiful color, and different texture. So just having fun with the flavors and different ingredients in the home is what intuitive cooking is all about. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you are leaving feeling more inspired to trust your intuition, get creative in the kitchen, and find a lot of joy doing that. And remember, if you're wanting to swap out your pans for a non-toxic alternative, check out Caraway. I recommend getting the cookware set since you'll save 20% by bundling. Plus, you can stack my discount code tidbits10 and get an additional 10% off. You can use my code and save on all of their products site-wide. Thanks for joining me today, friends. I'll be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home.